Here's an alien you could really say is animated. Here's your look at the NECA toys. Elf the cartoon, Gordon Shumway with saxophone. Did you know that before I was Alf, I was Gordon Shumway of the planet Melmac? Yep, just a charming and exceptionally handsome guy with a gift for playing the saxophone and a wisecrack at the ready. What can I say? Some people are just born lucky. I hope everybody's made their proper arrangements with their local hospitals, because this guy is about to put us in stitches. Grab the tape measure. Let's see how tall the figure stands. Now, this elf is actually based from the animated series, which debuted in 1987, I believe ran all the way to 1989, and had 2 seasons and a total of 26 episodes, which is one of those strange things, because to look back on it, I thought Elf only lasted a single season. In actual fact, it lasted 2. While I'm also measuring off this Melmacian, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample of animated Elf that we could have a look at this review. In the meantime, though, Elf stands just shy of being 4 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 10 centimeters tall. Not the first elf, though, that we've looked at here on this channel. To slide over the smaller elf that we will be looking at in this video, and to bring back in the earlier looked at Ultimate Elf, you can see there's definitely a size difference between the two. And while obviously this one is based clearly on the television series, one of the added accessories that I happen to have on the Melmacian right now is that he came included with that sort of weird-looking cog shirt that I thought, while looking at that, even in the review I mentioned that, they probably put that in as a tease to the fact that we would be getting an animated treated elf. And then sure enough, even as I said that, and as the words left my mouth, I'm sure they were already stocked in store shelves, because a couple of you viewers had told me that those animated elves were already on the pegs. Of course, when you see the 2 figures, size-wise, they are completely different from one another. The smaller-sized elf obviously is a little bit more stylized and not as posable as the earlier one that we looked at. One accessory does come included with Elf. The figure comes included with a saxophone. The saxophone, to its credit, is fairly well sculpted. It does have mostly a yellow treated paint to it, but there are some darker colors of brown that they've added in there as well. Primarily, the brown has been spiraled in the middle of the saxophone, and additional brown has been added to the bottom of it as well. It's an all-in-all nice-looking saxophone. It looks, based on the way, of course, they've colored it, like something you would have seen from the animated series. It does fit into his hand, although it only fits to this side of the figure's body. This is actually more just the hand for cracking jokes, or if, again, he's just talking to his friends. While this hand here is clearly a gripping hand designed to hold the saxophone. All you really do is take the neck of the saxophone. Is this an alto sax? I used to play saxophone in junior high. That's something you probably didn't know about me. But go ahead and take the saxophone, put it in his hand. It doesn't necessarily look as if he's playing it. I'm sure you probably could have it just a little bit higher up and actually bring the mouth a little bit more towards it. But I feel like it's actually designed more so just to be displayed along with the figure, not with the intended plan of actually having him playing it. Oh yes, those days of playing the saxophone. Started with the saxophone, I ended in the trumpet. Now you can decide for yourself if that was an upgrade or a downgrade. Either way, I enjoyed playing both of those. I didn't want to play the clarinet or the flutes. There, I said it. So anyways, he does come included with, like I said, the saxophone. We could go ahead for right now and remove that. Just pop that out of his hand. One of the things I was concerned about is maybe some of the flaking of paint. Obviously, there are a few little areas where I think that the yellow isn't as strong as some of the areas down below in the saxophone. But I don't think, from what I've seen at least, any bit of removing it, adding it back to the hand, taking it away from the hand, rinsing, repeating, I don't think any of the paint has actually come off the saxophone so far, and hopefully that won't change anytime soon. Putting that to the side, though, getting a closer look at Alf, I really like the look of this one quite a bit. As far as I know, we only have, I think, 2 elves available. There's this one, and then there's one that's a mallet. It comes with a mallet, and it comes also with a fish, and I think he's also wearing like his sports outfit we will be looking at in an upcoming review. But if you want just a basic-looking elf, this one fits the bill rather nicely. Still has, again, like sort of that cog shirt that he would have wore. Again, like we would have got that as a standalone accessory with the other elf. This one obviously cannot be removed. It's molded to the plastic of the figure. Head sculpt-wise, it does look very much like cartoon Elf. I used to draw this guy all the time in school. I don't know why I was so compelled to draw Elf all the time, but I could draw this guy. At the time of asking me, I would have told you I could draw Elf pretty perfect, and I think I've lost a little bit of that now. One thing I really like about the figure is that they took the time, as small as it may be, to paint the tiny little white pupils in the middles of his eyes. Of course, he does have the warts there on the ends of his nose. I don't know if he's supposed to look a little like an aardvark. That was always the thing I thought about when Elf. Like, what did they kind of base the design on when they were designing him? Some would already say, well, he's an alien. Yes, but obviously they would have had to take some indications from other animals. I always kind of thought he looked a little like an aardvark. He does have, again, a little swoop of hair that comes across the one side of his face. This is all hard plastic, so there's no real give to it. And they have taken the time to nicely paint the inside of his mouth. Well, maybe the inside, not as much. Like the top of his mouth is clearly still the same brown. So they probably didn't paint that part. But at least they took the time to paint the tongue, and they painted what little he has of teeth, the top and two bottom teeth. Nice looking figure, though. Now, I was actually surprised to see as well that this guy does have articulation a lot more than just straight swivel. In actual fact, this elf does actually have a ball joint in his head, so you can move the head quite a lot. His arms are obviously a little bit more limited, and he has no articulation to speak of, really, from the waist down. He has, yeah, again, like nothing. It's basically just a shirt that's molded to the rest of his feet, to the rest of his legs. Speaking of his feet, I got a little sidetracked by looking at the size of the feet that he has. Really well sculpted for the fur, and of course they painted the toes down below here. Very bright. None of the paint is a mess at all, either. On the bottoms of the figure's feet, he does actually have only one peg hole. I don't really know why they took the time to put a peg hole on the bottom of the feet. Like, it's not like he has any real difficult time to stand. The feet are so large anyways, and it doesn't really have anything that's posable, really, like from this point down anyways. So I don't really know why they would have taken the time to put a hole there in the first place. For the articulation on this guy, again, it's only just going to be a ball joint for the head, but at least I'm glad to see that they did do that. I was just really honestly expecting for the head just to swivel back and forth, and that was it. But you can, at least by the aid of having a ball joint, you can have the head looking up, you can have the head looking down, and you can also rock it back and forth as well as he's cracking those jokes. The arms, though, are the thing that's going to be a little bit more limited. You can bring the arms back and forth this way. You can also, I think there's a little swivel there in the elbow, swivel in the elbow, and that's it. That's all you can really do with the figure. I thought when I first took this guy to the packaging, I'd be able to maybe rotate the waist, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all. So again, like when it comes to displaying this guy, you can almost have him looking as if he's playing his saxophone. But I think really, again, the intended plan, like just to get it as close to the mouth as I possibly can get it, like it's almost there, but it clearly looks like it's not designed for him to actually be playing the saxophone, more so just to be displayed along with him. Again, a nice looking figure, though. A figure that, to be fair, I'm a little late with looking at. Obviously, by the time you guys are seeing this review, many of you guys have already had the chance to pick up this elf. If you have, let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of it. I don't know, though, as I bring in the ultimate elf here, whether they have any plans to expand the cartoon line other than what we got right here. One of the lines, I might just try to see where I could put them, where I have put them in the totes, is my Back to the Future animated figures. I don't have them on display as of right now. I had kind of moved and shifted some of my collection around, and one of the unfortunate casualties was the fact that the Back to the Future figures, I did end up putting at least the cartoon ones away. I'm going to see if I can find those, because I did want to bring those out as comparisons. I don't think they came out around the same time, but of course there was the Back to the Future cartoon. There was, of course, the ALF cartoon that this figure is based from. I would really like to maybe be able to bring those figures out for comparisons. But the one also reason why I did mention the Back to the Future stuff is because we didn't also just get a Doc Brown and a Marty McFly, but we also did get ourselves a Biff. So I would like to maybe see it if we could get possible other figures other than, I think we only just got the two elves in animated form. I would love to certainly see some of his other friends make plastic appearances as well. It is theoretically possible to be able to get the saxophone into Elf's mouth. The only problem with that, though, is that you have to move the larger end of the saxophone further up, and he has to hold on to a bigger grip. And with the extra additional valves that open and close, obviously on a normal saxophone, it does make that section of the saxophone accessory too big for his grip to hold properly. So it does fit, but it doesn't fit as well as maybe it should. But it is the possibility there as well that if you wanted to have the figure displayed with him actually blowing some tunes through the saxophone, you could technically do it, although the hand doesn't grip it as well as maybe it should. I do really like the look of this figure. He's limited on articulation, sure, but that goes with the territory of some of the other stuff that NECA's been doing anyways, with like the Toony Terrors. Not to mention the Back to the Future animated figures have all kind of been really relegated to very limited articulation. The point that counts the most on all of this is not just the fact that these figures are articulated. Sometimes I would sacrifice, honestly, articulation for better sculpted figures, and with this being an elf that looks more like the cartoon, I don't mind at all that he loses the articulation points. If I really wanted a super articulated elf, I would obviously have the ultimate elf, a figure we've already had a look at here on this channel. But what do you guys think of elf with saxophone? And Do you remember watching the original ALF series? What are some of your favorite cartoons you used to watch on Saturday mornings? ALF was certainly one of them for me. I still can't remember. I can't believe that it ran for 2 seasons. I always thought it ran 1 season, and it ran for like 1.5 seasons. But it ended up ultimately running for 26 episodes. Still can't believe that. Big thank you once again, though, to the folks over at NECA that did provide the sample of the ALF animated collectible figures of animated ALF, the cartoon ALF, along with his saxophone. I don't know if that's an alto sax, a baritone. Was it baritone is the largest of the saxes? Somebody who's a more resident expert of saxophones will tell me down below in the comments section. Anyways, guys, if you certainly enjoyed this video, I want to hit it with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you'd like to see that other ALF review, of course, we will be looking at that one in an upcoming video. Making sure, of course, you're not missing out on anything that's NECA related. Hit that subscribe button first of all, obviously, but turning on the bell notification can also help as well. It helps to know that every single time a new video pops, YouTube will be the little person that's nudging you on the shoulder, tapping you on the shoulder, saying, hey, that guy over there has got a new video. Just an FYI. Certainly don't want to miss out on anything that's popping up on this channel. Just know as well that Monday to Friday we have regular videos popping up at 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there's always new content popping up on this channel. If you have a little bit of also time at the end of this and you want to stick around for a little bit, I mean, obviously the snacks have already been well picked over on the table over there. But if you have a little bit of time and you don't mind that the snacks are gone, popping up also at the very end of the video will also be a playlist. Check out some of the other stuff I've looked at from NECA over the years. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.